Whole week. My daughter ignored all of my calls. No messages, just silence. After 7 days, I went to her house. It was dark and unnaturally quiet, and there was a strong smell of bleach in the air. As I walked into my granddaughter's room, I heard a faint scratching sound coming from the closet. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside was a pale, thin little girl. She looked at me and whispered, "Mom said I had to hide here." In that moment, I knew something was terribly wrong. What I discovered next changed everything. Every Friday at 8 in the evening, my daughter called. For 12 years, that phone rang with the precision of a Swiss watch. Last Friday, it stayed silent. I'm Mateo Herrera, 64 years old, a retired electrician from a small village in the province of Avila. For 40 years, I made my living tracing faulty circuits, finding the break in the current, and restoring the flow. You'd think retirement would feel peaceful. It did, mostly, especially on Fridays at 8 o'clock sharp. Every single Friday, my old landline would ring. On the other end was my daughter, Elna, calling from her home in a suburb of Madrid, about an hour and a half away. But with that call, she might as well have been right there in my kitchen. That's how close we've always been. "Hola, Papa," she'd say, and I could hear the smile in her voice. It was the same smile she'd had since she was a little girl, watching me work in my small workshop. "Why does this wire go here, Papa?" she'd ask. "Everything is connected. Mi vida," I'd tell her. "You just have to find the source." She didn't become an electrician. She became a nurse. She said she wanted to help people, to mend them in a different way, and she had a gift for it. She made people feel safe in their most vulnerable moments. That was my Elena. Our Friday calls would last an hour, sometimes more. She'd tell me about her shifts at the Hospital Universitario La Paz. I'd tell her about my garden, the tomatoes finally ripening, and then little Sophia would grab the phone. My granddaughter, 11 years old, with a curiosity as bright as a new fuse. "Yayo, when can I come to visit?" she'd ask. "This weekend, mi sol." She'd visit most weekends, helping me in the workshop, getting her hands dirty, just like her mother used to. Those Friday calls were the anchor of my week. 8 o'clock every Friday without fail. Until last Friday. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee cooling in my favorite mug. 7:58 p.m. I glanced at the clock. 2 minutes. The phone sat silent on the wall, an old rotary dial phone that had been there for decades. It still worked perfectly. 8 o'clock came and went. 8:05, 8:15. I picked up the receiver. A clean dial tone hummed in my ear. Nothing wrong with the line. I dialed Elena's mobile number. It rang and rang and rang. Then her voicemail. Her cheerful voice. "Hola, soy Elena. No puedo ponerme ahora. Déjame un mensaje y te llamo." "Hola, mi vida. It's Papa. Just checking in. Call me when you can." I hung up. I told myself she was busy. Late shift, probably. She'd call back. But she always called on Fridays. Always. Even when she was exhausted. Even when Sophia was sick. 8 o'clock on a Friday was our time. After 40 years as an electrician, you develop a sixth sense for when something isn't right. That faint tingle at the back of your neck when you're looking at a circuit that looks normal, but you know there's a fault waiting to cause a fire. That's what this felt like. I called again at 9. Voicemail. 10 o'clock. Voicemail. 11 o'clock. Straight to voicemail. I thought about Javier then, my son-in-law, married to Elena for 12 years, father to Sophia. He worked in finance at some firm in Madrid. Pleasant enough on the surface, always polite at family gatherings. But lately, over the past few months, something about him had felt off. The last time I'd seen him was 3 weeks ago at Sophia's birthday. I'd asked about work, just making conversation, and he'd gotten shifty. His eyes didn't quite meet mine. 40 years of tracing faulty wiring teaches you to spot the signs. The little inconsistencies. I pushed the thought away. I was being an overprotective father. By midnight, I'd called 7 times. 7 voicemails. Silence. My coffee was stone cold. The house felt suffocatingly quiet. That tingling had become a heavy stone in my chest. I stood at my kitchen window, looking out at the empty street. Somewhere, an hour and a half away, my daughter wasn't answering her phone. Everything connects, I used to tell Elena. You just have to trace it back to the source. But what do you do when the connection goes dead? Saturday morning brought no answers. I hadn't slept. At 7:30 a.m., I called the Hospital La Paz. "Hospital Universitario La Paz. ¿Qué departamento?" La cuarta planta, enfermería, por favor. I'm trying to reach Elena Herrera. I'm her father. A click, a short hold, then a different voice. Cuarta planta, dígame. Aisle. Javier stood at the altar, polished smile and confident gestures. Something had felt off even then. I'd mentioned it. Papa, I love him, she'd said. Isn't that enough? I kept my doubts to myself. What kind of father ruins his daughter's happiness? The highway stretched on. I passed Segovia, the Roman aqueduct silhouetted against the sky. My thoughts circled the last few months. Javier coming home later. The tightness in Elena's voice. 3 weeks ago, at Sophia's birthday, she'd asked me, Yayo, what do you do when someone lies to you? I should have asked more. I let it go. My phone buzzed in my hand. For a second, hope flared inside me. Maybe it was Elena, but when I looked down, the screen showed a different name. Not Elena. The disappointment hit harder than I expected. I dialed Javier again, pressing the phone tightly against my ear. Straight to voicemail. I swallowed and left a message, trying to keep my voice steady. Javier, it's Mateo. I'm on my way to the house. If Elena and Sophia are there, have her call me immediately. If they're really on this trip, I need proof. I'll be there in less than an hour. I ended the call and stared at the road ahead, my mind racing with questions I couldn't answer. The landscape slowly flattened as I neared the suburbs. Long, quiet streets lined with neat rows of identical houses. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I turned onto their street and instinctively slowed down. Number 14. The house stood silent and still. Too quiet. No car in the driveway. No lights in the windows. Even the lawn looked neglected, the grass slightly overgrown as if no one had cared for days. A small package sat on the porch steps, its cardboard edges softened and darkened by a week of morning dew. It had clearly been sitting there for a long time. A cold feeling settled in my chest. I crossed the street slowly, like a man walking toward his own judgment. Javier's car wasn't there. Every curtain was drawn tight, sealing the house off from the outside world. No movement, no sound, nothing. I climbed the porch steps and knocked. Once, silence. I knocked again, harder this time, my heart beating faster. Elena! Sophia! My voice sounded too loud in the quiet morning air. I waited, holding my breath. Still nothing. Not even a sound from inside. Just silence, thick and unsettling. I pressed my ear against the door. No footsteps, no television, just a faint hum of the refrigerator running inside. That's when I remembered. 2 summers ago, Elena had locked herself out. I'd driven down to help her. After 20 minutes of trying to jimmy the lock, she laughed and shown me her secret. Papa, I'm a nurse. I work odd hours. I need a backup plan. She led me to a decorative rock near the flower bed, a hollow, fake stone. Don't tell Javier. He thinks it's tacky. I went to the flower bed. There, half hidden under a wilting lavender bush, sat a gray plastic rock. I grabbed it, twisted the bottom, and the key fell into my palm. My hand shook as I slid it into the lock. The deadbolt clicked open with a sound that felt too final. I pushed the door open. The smell hit me first. Not rot or violence, just the stale air of a house closed up too long. I stepped inside. The living room looked almost normal. Almost. But my electrician's eye caught what was wrong. The coffee table sat at a slight angle. The sofa cushions were arranged too perfectly. That frantic neatness of a cover-up. A throw pillow lay on the floor behind the armchair. The family photos on the mantel had been disturbed. The carpet showed vacuum lines running in odd directions. Elena? Sophia? No answer. The kitchen was spotless. Too spotless. But when I opened the fridge, I found only beer, takeout containers, and milk that had expired 4 days ago. Nothing an 11-year-old would eat. That's when I heard it. A soft sound from upstairs. A scratching, like tiny fingernails on wood. I took the stairs 2 at a time. The scratching came from Sophia's room. I threw open the door. The room looked untouched. Pink curtains, stuffed animals on shelves. But the sound continued from the wardrobe. I yanked open the wardrobe door. There, curled up behind a pile of winter coats, was my granddaughter. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. Her skin was pale except for a feverish flush. Her eyes were glassy and unfocused. In her small hands, she clutched a stuffed bunny to her chest, the faded blue rabbit Elena had bought her years ago. Yayo, she whispered, her voice like dry leaves. I dropped to my knees and gathered her into my arms. She weighed nothing. just bones and burning skin. Her breathing was shallow and labored. I've got you, mi sol. I've got you now. She looked up at me. Yayo. I heard mommy scream, and then everything went quiet. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and dialed 112. I need an ambulance. Cala de los Olmos, 14. My granddaughter, 11 years old, severe dehydration, high fever. She's been alone for... My voice caught. Please hurry. How long, mi sol? I whispered into her hair. How long have you been in there? Her answer made my heart stop. I don't know, Yayo. I stopped counting after 7 days. The ambulance ride to the Hospital Infantil Universitario Niño Jesus took 25 minutes. It felt like 25 hours. Sophia drifted in and out of consciousness, her hand gripping mine. The paramedics said severe dehydration, malnutrition. I just held her hand and watched her chest rise and fall. The emergency room was chaos. Doctors and nurses surrounded her. IV lines, monitors, urgent voices. I pressed myself into a corner and watched them save my granddaughter's life. After what felt like hours, they moved her to a private room. Her fever had started to come down. I pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down. 7 days? My 11-year-old granddaughter had survived 7 days alone. But how? Sophia stirred, her eyes opening slowly. Yayo. I'm here, mi sol. You're safe now. She was quiet for a moment, looking at the stuffed bunny on the bedside table. Mommy taught me, in case something bad happened. My throat tightened. What did she teach you? Her eyes filled with tears. Months ago, she would come into my room at night. She said if I ever heard loud arguing, really loud, scary arguing, I should go straight to my wardrobe and hide, not come out until you called my name or the police. Elena had known. She'd known she was in danger and prepared her daughter. That Saturday night, I was reading. Then I heard them. Javier was yelling. Mommy was crying. It got so loud. I did what Mommy said. I went to my wardrobe and closed the door. You did exactly right. Mommy showed me where she hid snacks. In my toy box under the stuffed animals, crackers and granola bars. She said it was our secret emergency kit. She told me to eat just a little bit every day. The image of Elena hiding food for her daughter broke me. What about water? At night, when the house got really quiet, I would sneak out and go to the bathroom. I drank from the sink and filled my water bottle. Then I'd go back to the wardrobe. She looked down. I was so scared, but Mommy said being brave means doing scary things when you have to. Why didn't you try to leave or call for help? Her answer was simple. Mommy said to wait for you. She said you'd come. She said you always keep your promises. You promised to call every Friday. So if you didn't call, you'd come looking. She told me to wait for you, Yayo. Nobody else. The weight of that trust. Elena's faith in me. Sophia's patience. My daughter had spent her last months teaching her child how to survive. She'd done everything to protect Sophia, but she hadn't been able to save herself. You did so well, mi sol. Your mommy would be so proud. Sophia's eyes closed, exhaustion winning. I sat there watching her breathe, listening to the monitors. She was alive. Against all odds, my granddaughter was alive. A soft knock. A woman with a badge stood in the doorway. Detective Inspector Ana Torres of the Policía Nacional. Senor Herrera, can we talk in the hall? I followed her out. I need to ask about your daughter. When did you last see her? 3 weeks ago, at Sophia's birthday. And your son-in-law? The same day. Torres paused. We've been to the house. Forensics found traces of blood in the living room. A significant amount. Someone tried to clean it. The words hung in the air. Blood. In Elena's living room. Javier. Where is he? We don't know. His car's gone. His phone is off. We've issued a search alert. 4 days later, Torres called me into a consultation room. We found him, trying to cross into Portugal with a fake passport. He wasn't alone. A woman named Lucia Montes, an ex-girlfriend. My hands clenched. We searched his car, found cleaning supplies, bleach, rubber gloves, and messages about a storage unit. She paused. We found Elena's body there. My legs gave out. I sat down heavily. Elena's body. The confirmation I'd been dreading. A storage unit on the outskirts of Madrid, rented under a fake name 3 months ago. Torres sat across from me. I'm so sorry, but we have him. With Sophia's testimony and the evidence, We have a strong case. The trial began 8 months later. I sat in the front row, Sophia beside me, her hand gripping mine. Javier sat at the defendant's table, composed, confident. Lucia Montes sat at another table, pale and drawn. She'd taken a deal to testify against him. The prosecutor laid out the case. Financial motive: Javier had over 400,000 euros in gambling debts. Elena had a life insurance policy for 500,000 euros with him as beneficiary. The planning: the storage unit rented months ahead, cleaning supplies purchased. The execution: DNA under Elena's fingernails matching Javier. Browser history: searches for how long does life insurance take to pay out. Then Sophia took the stand. She walked with her head high, the stuffed bunny under her arm. She was 12 now. The courtroom fell silent. The judge leaned forward gently. Niña, ¿puedes decirnos qué pasó esa noche? Sophia's voice was quiet but clear. She told them about hiding in the wardrobe, about hearing her mother scream, about hearing Javier say, "Lo siento," right before everything went quiet, about 7 days alone, eating crackers, drinking from the sink, waiting for her yayo. When she finished, the courtroom was in tears. Several jurors cried openly. Javier's face was pale, his confidence gone. Lucia Montes testified next. She described how Javier planned everything, how he told her Elena was keeping him from his money, how when Elena refused to sign papers, he lost control. She helped clean up, helped move the body. She'd heard the noise upstairs. When she asked about Sophia, Javier said, "She's probably at a friend's house. By the time anyone finds her, we'll be long gone." The jury deliberated 6 hours. The verdict: guilty of first-degree murder with premeditation. The judge sentenced him to life in prison, minimum 25 years. Lucia Montes received 18 years. Javier was led away in handcuffs. He looked back once, eyes meeting mine. There was only rage, no remorse, but I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Justice had spoken. Outside, the press swarmed. I held Sophia close, shielding her. Detective Torres led us to a waiting car. "It's over," she said quietly. Sophia looked up at me, tears streaming. "Yayo, mommy can rest now." "Yes, mi soul, she can." 3 years have passed. Sophia is 14 now, tall and bright with her mother's smile. She wants to be a doctor, like mommy. We moved back to my village in Avila permanently. I fixed up the old house, painted her room yellow, built her a desk. She's made friends. She laughs more. The nightmares come less often. Every Friday at 8, we have our own tradition. We sit at the kitchen table with cups of hot chocolate and talk about Elena, about the cake that collapsed, about her first day of nursing school, about how she sang off-key in the shower. We keep her alive in our stories. Javier writes letters from prison. Sophia burns them without reading. I told her she never has to forgive him. Forgiveness is for people who are sorry. He never was. Sometimes, when I'm working in the garage, Sophia comes out to help. She's getting good at it. She understands circuits, how everything connects. Last week, she fixed a lamp by herself. When the light came on, her face lit up with the same pride I'd seen on her mother's face decades ago. "Yayo, look." I traced it back to the source. The problem was right here. I fixed it. I looked at her, my granddaughter, my reason for getting up every morning. For a moment, I saw Elena standing there. The same spark, the same determination. "You're right, mi soul. You always find the source." She smiled, and in that smile, I knew. The connection wasn't broken. It never would be. Elena's love was still flowing through us, completing the circuit, lighting the way forward. Justice was served. Javier will rot in prison. But my daughter's legacy isn't in a courtroom or a grave. It's in the bright, brave girl standing in my garage, learning how the world works. It's in every Friday at 8 when we raise our cups of chocolate and remember. It's in the connections that death cannot sever. My name is Mateo Herrera. I'm an electrician. And I've learned that the most important circuits aren't made of wire. They're made of love. And they last forever. The sun is setting over the hills of Avila now. Sophia is inside doing her homework. In a few minutes, I'll go make our hot chocolate. It will be 8 o'clock soon. Time for our Friday call with the ones we love, even the ones we can only reach with our hearts. The phone sits silent on the wall. It doesn't ring anymore. But somehow, that's okay, because the connection was never really in the wires. It was always in us. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more amazing stories and videos.